You send a text message and watch 3 little dots appear, then disappear, then never come back. Nothing physical happened to you. No one hit you, no one raised their voice, and yet something inside you deflates in a way that feels almost physical. You call this rejection and treat it like an emotional inconvenience. Your nervous system disagrees. It treats it like an emergency, and the reason why reaches back thousands of years. Start with a word more commonly used in a psychology classroom: ostracism. It sounds ancient because it is. Psychologist Kipling Williams spent much of his career studying it, and he built something deceptively simple to study it properly. He built a virtual ball-tossing game called Cyberball. A participant sits down believing they're playing a casual game of catch with 2 other real people online. For a while, the ball comes their way normally. Then, without warning or explanation, the other 2 players simply stop throwing it to them. That's the entire manipulation. Just silence and exclusion delivered by strangers the participant will never meet and will likely never think about again. People excluded from this meaningless game of catch reported genuine emotional distress within seconds. Distress that showed up not just in what they said afterward, but in how their brains behaved in real time. Being ignored by strangers in a pointless online game triggered a response that looks, neurologically, disturbingly similar to physical pain. Not disappointment, not a mild annoyance, a threat response aimed at a pointless game. Why would your brain treat something this trivial as dangerous? Williams built an entire framework around the answer, called the needs-threat model. His research suggests that ostracism, in any form, threatens 4 fundamental psychological needs at once: your sense of belonging, your self-esteem, your sense of control, and your feeling that your existence is meaningful to others. That's an extraordinary amount of damage for 2 strangers declining to throw you a virtual ball. But your brain isn't calculating the actual stakes of this specific game. It's running an ancient programming built for a world where exclusion from the group meant something catastrophic. For the overwhelming majority of human history, you did not survive alone. A single human, cut off from their tribe, faced predators, starvation, and exposure with no backup and no shared resources. Being excluded wasn't an inconvenience, it was frequently a death sentence. A person whose brain treated social exclusion with total indifference would be less motivated to repair damaged relationships, less driven to behave in ways that kept them inside the group, and significantly less likely to survive long enough to pass that indifference on. The people who felt rejection as an emergency were the people who fought hardest to belong. You are, quite literally, descended from the ones who couldn't shrug it off. This helps explain something almost everyone has felt: rejection sensitivity that seems wildly out of proportion to the actual event. Psychologist Geraldine Downey spent years researching exactly this pattern. He documented how some people develop a heightened tendency to anxiously expect, readily perceive, and intensely react to rejection, even in ambiguous situations where no rejection was actually happening: a slightly delayed text reply, a friend who seems distracted during a conversation. For someone high in rejection sensitivity, these small, neutral gaps get filled in with the worst possible interpretation, and the body reacts as though the worst interpretation is already confirmed. This isn't a character flaw or an overreaction pulled out of nowhere. It's an alarm system, sometimes miscalibrated by earlier experiences, doing exactly what alarm systems do, triggering fast, before all the facts are in. Because in the ancestral environment, waiting for complete certainty about your social standing could cost you your place in the group entirely. Now think about what psychologist Roy Baumeister's research on belonging adds to this picture. Baumeister argued that the need to belong isn't a soft, optional preference. It functions as a fundamental drive in its own right, on par with hunger or thirst, shaping behavior even when people aren't consciously aware it's happening. That reframes rejection completely. When you feel gutted after being excluded from a group chat, or crushed after a job application goes unanswered, you are not being fragile. You are experiencing a genuine deprivation of something your brain treats as biologically necessary. It's the same category of signal your body sends you when you haven't eaten in too long. Wait, so if rejection activates threat circuitry built for literal survival, then the size of the rejection doesn't matter. A job application that never gets a response can trigger nearly the same neurological alarm as being excluded by close friends, even though Rationally, an anonymous hiring manager's silence carries almost none of the ancestral danger that tribal exclusion once did. Your threat detection system doesn't check the actual stakes before firing. It fires first, using pattern recognition built for a world where any exclusion from any source was worth taking seriously. That mismatch is the real modern problem. You now live in an environment engineered to deliver hundreds of small, low-stakes rejection signals every single day. An unanswered message, an unliked post, a job posting that quietly stops responding, a dating app match that vanishes without a word. Each one triggers the same ancient alarm built for a world with far higher stake threats. Your nervous system wasn't built for this volume. It was built for a tribe of maybe 50 to 150 people, where a rejection signal was rare enough to be worth a full-scale response every time it appeared. You're running Paleolithic software on a threat load it was never designed to process. Understanding this doesn't make rejection painless. It's not supposed to. But it does change what you're allowed to conclude about yourself the next time it happens. That gut punch feeling when someone doesn't text back isn't proof that you're too sensitive, too needy, or too much. It's proof that a survival mechanism responsible for keeping your ancestors alive inside the tribe is still fully online. So the next time you send a text message and watch 3 little dots appear, then disappear, then never come back. Nothing happened to you. No one hit you. No one raised their voice. But somewhere in your skull, an alarm built across hundreds of thousands of years just urgently went off anyway. Not because you're broken, because that alarm was never given the memo that the tribe got bigger, the stakes got smaller, and it could finally, safely stand down.